A group of friends, including Juno, Sarah, and Beth, are on a rafting trip. Sarah's husband, Paul, and their daughter, Jessica, are waiting for them at the end of the trip. Paul and Juno have a weird moment before Paul, Sarah, and Jessica head home. While they're driving, Paul gets distracted and crashes into a truck carrying metal rods. Some of the rods pierce through the car's windshield, hitting Paul. After the accident, Sarah has a dream where Jessica appears, offering her a birthday cake. When Sarah wakes up in the hospital, she panics and imagines the hospital getting dark around her. Beth comforts her and tells her that Jessica has died. They cry together as Juno, also crying, walks away. A year later, Juno plans a cave diving trip in the Appalachian Mountains to help Sarah break out of her isolation. The three friends from the rafting trip meet at a cabin the day before the adventure. Three more adventurers join them: Holly, Juno's bold friend, Rebecca, a cautious older sister, and Sam, a medical student who's not as experienced. There's still tension between Juno and Beth because Juno left Scotland the day of the accident a year ago. That evening, the group shares memories and drinks. Sarah recalls Paul's motto, "Love each day," as her reason for joining the adventure. Holly complains that the cave they're exploring isn't challenging. Later, Sarah has a nightmare about getting hit by a steel rod, like Paul did in the accident. The next morning, Juno wakes up her 5 companions for the adventure. They drive on a rough road, and when they get out of the cars, Juno forgets the cave map on purpose. On their hike to the cave, they find a dead bull elk with its throat torn open. Everyone except Juno and Holly gets nervous seeing the big, dark cave entrance. They all start rappelling down into the cave. When they go deeper, it gets really dark. Juno lights flares, and they see the huge cave they're in. Even Holly, who usually isn't easily impressed, is amazed and takes pictures with her fancy camera. Juno says they're searching for a tunnel to go deeper into the cave system. She apologizes to Sarah for leaving her last year and gets emotional talking about Paul. Sarah, not wanting to talk about it, wanders off and finds a small tunnel. One by one, the women enter the tunnel, which gets smaller halfway through before opening into another large space in the caves. Sarah is the last to go through and gets stuck on a rock, making her feel claustrophobic. Beth tries to calm her down and then goes back into the tunnel to help her. She tells Sarah not to be scared because the worst thing that could happen has already happened. As Beth pulls Sarah out, the tunnel starts to shake, and it collapses just as they escape. The whole group is upset because the collapsed tunnel was their way out of the caves. However, they find out there are 2 more exits. Juno confesses that she didn't bring the cave map and intentionally took them to an unexplored cave instead of the one she said she would. She wanted to be the first to explore these caves and have them named after them. The others are mad, and Beth reminds Juno of leaving when Sarah needed her most. Juno says that Sarah wasn't the only one who lost something in the accident. She tells them they need to keep moving and find another way out or they might die in there. The group reaches a huge drop in the cave. Unfortunately, they lost the bag with the ropes in the tunnel collapse. To reach a possible exit, they need to set up a pulley system on the ceiling of the drop. Rebecca climbs painfully along the ceiling using only her arms to hook the rope to the cave roof. When she reaches the other side, she sees a hook left by a previous explorer. Each woman crosses the drop using the pulley system, and Juno goes last. She decides they need all the equipment, so she pulls down the rope pulley as she crosses. But near the end, Juno slips and falls. Rebecca grabs the rope to slow down Juno's fall, hurting her hand badly from the rope. Finally, Juno climbs up the wall to join the others. As the 6 women continue their journey, they pass by a drooling mouth in the foreground, but none of them notice it. While walking through the caves, they come across an old mural that looks like it was made by early Native Americans. It shows a community, and Beth notices that there's another way out of the cave shown on the mural. When it's time to move on, Holly rushes ahead and thinks she sees daylight, but it's just glowing rock. Juno tells her to slow down, but she doesn't listen and falls into a big pit in the cave. Her leg breaks, and the bone sticks out of her skin. The others rappel down into the pit and help Holly. Sam puts her leg back in place and makes a splint from a pickaxe, so she can walk slowly and painfully. While this is happening, Sarah wanders off and finds an old miner's helmet. She looks up and sees a weird creature in the distance. It looks like a human but is hairless and deformed with sharp claws and small eyes. The creature disappears quickly, and Juno finds Sarah. Sarah tells the group about the creature, but they don't believe her. They all, including Holly with her injured leg, keep looking for a way out of the cave. They reach a part of the cave with 3 tunnels, and even Juno isn't sure which one to take. It's very dark, so they use Holly's night vision camera to see. They find the floor covered in animal bones, which scares them. Then they hear a terrifying noise and see the grotesque creature Sarah saw, standing near them in the camera. It climbs up the wall incredibly fast and disappears. Suddenly, it jumps on top of Holly. The group panics, and Sam and Rebecca run down one tunnel, while Sarah takes another. Sarah slips and falls into another pit, knocking herself out. The creature bites Holly in the throat, killing her. Juno and the creature start fighting over Holly's body. Juno slashes the creature's face with her pickaxe when it attacks her. Another creature jumps on Juno, and she manages to kill it with her pickaxe. The injured creature drags Holly's body away while Juno fights the second creature. After killing the second creature, Juno hears something behind her and swings the pickaxe reflexively. It's actually Beth, and Juno accidentally stabs her in the throat. Beth grabs Juno's necklace and collapses, bleeding heavily, begging for help. Shocked, Juno backs away into one of the tunnels, leaving Beth to die. Sarah has another dream about her daughter, but this time her daughter has the face of a creature. She wakes up and realizes she's in a dark pit filled with the blood and guts of dead animals. Suddenly, Holly's body is dropped into the pit. Using Holly's night vision camera, Sarah watches in horror as several creatures devour Holly. Sarah tries not to move as one of the creatures comes close to her, but it doesn't seem to notice her. Juno calls from above, and the creatures leave to go after the others. Sarah makes a torch to find her way out of the dark pit. One of the creatures stumbles upon Sam and Rebecca, who are huddled together and trying not to move. It roars in their direction but doesn't spot them. Juno calls out again, and the creature moves away from Sam and Rebecca. They continue on, hoping to find a way out. As they turn a corner, they're attacked by another creature. It tries to attack Rebecca while Sam is too scared to move. But Juno shows up and kills the creature by stabbing it through the skull with her pickaxe. Juno explains that the creatures are completely blind and rely on sound to hunt. Sarah tries to escape and finds Beth near where they entered the cave. Beth is badly injured and tells Sarah that Juno stabbed her and left her there. She shows Sarah Juno's necklace, which has the phrase, "Love each day," on it, Paul's motto. Sarah realizes Juno must have gotten it from Paul, indicating they may have been having an affair. Beth asks Sarah to end her suffering, and a grieving Sarah reluctantly uses a nearby rock to do so. Shortly after, a small creature, childlike in appearance, attacks Sarah, jumping on her back. Sarah fights back, smashing the creature into the cave roof and then onto the floor, killing it. Moments later, another creature appears, this one looking like a female with long hair and distinct breasts, likely the mother of the small creature. When the female creature attacks Sarah, she fights back and the creature falls into another pit filled with blood. As Sarah tries to climb out, the female creature attacks again. Despite being pinned down, Sarah grabs a nearby jagged bone and stabs the female creature through the face, killing her. Then a male creature arrives but doesn't notice Sarah lying still beneath him. She attacks him with the bone, managing to kill him too. Traumatized and covered in blood, Sarah lets out a terrifying scream. Juno, Rebecca, and Sam hear Sarah's scream and Juno promises not to leave without her. But when she sees a group of creatures chasing them, she changes her mind and they all run down the tunnel. Sam tries to set up another rope pulley system to cross a precipice, but they don't have enough rope. Juno and Rebecca urge Sam to be careful. Suddenly, a creature jumps out and attacks Sam, ripping her throat out. With her last strength, Sam stabs the creature, and it falls into the water below. More creatures arrive and pull Rebecca down, tearing her stomach and throat open. Juno, cornered at the edge of the precipice, jumps down. Juno lands in a large pool of water at the bottom of the precipice. Underwater, a creature waits for her, but she uses Rebecca's knife to kill it. Climbing up the slippery walls, Juno loses her grip and starts to fall again. Suddenly, Sarah grabs her hand and pulls her up. Sarah is covered in blood and looks wild. She asks Juno about Beth, and Juno's confession confirms Sarah's suspicions that Juno can't be trusted. They run off together, still searching for a way out. In a cavern, they find themselves surrounded by 4 creatures. A violent fight breaks out. Juno and Sarah each kill a creature with their pickaxes, but more creatures attack. Sarah gouges out the eyes of her attacker, killing him, while Juno stabs the other through the throat with Sarah's flaming torch. In a tense moment, Sarah silently shows Juno Paul's necklace, leaving Juno stunned and speechless. They have a standoff with their pickaxes, but Juno is distracted by the sound of more creatures approaching. Sarah takes advantage of the moment and stabs Juno through the leg with her pickaxe. Just as Juno abandoned Beth to die, Sarah leaves Juno behind. As she runs off, Sarah hears the creatures and Juno screaming in the distance. Sarah rushes into a side cavern and falls into a pile of bones. Above her, she sees daylight peeking through. Frantically, she climbs towards the light and pulls herself up into the woods above, blinded by the sudden brightness. In a state of panic, she runs back to the cars and drives off down the country roads they came in on. She stops the car and vomits from the overwhelming psychological trauma. When she looks back, she's startled to see the bloodied figure of Juno sitting next to her in the passenger seat. Sarah shifts her head and wakes up. She finds herself still lying in the pile of bones, realizing that her escape was just a dream. The cavern is actually a dead end, with no light coming in. To comfort herself, Sarah imagines her daughter Jessica giving her the birthday cake again. As Sarah drifts off in her thoughts, she hears the sounds of the creatures getting closer.
Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you will not miss any of our video updates.